to the Moxstars Podcast. It's Evan here alongside Christopher Ritter.
Yo.
If you didn't know, this is the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and Dr. Pepper. And if you'd like to support the show, you can do so by finding us on YouTube, where you can see my new background. Spoiler alert, it's a window in my apartment. You can also follow us on all major podcasting platforms, where if you were paying attention and you are listening to podcasts on one of those platforms, you will have noticed that if you said Schwabadoo on the YouTube channel, left us a comment, you would, if you're the first person, you would have won a borderless foil Temple Garden. So congratulations to our first ever giveaway winner. That card is in the mail. It is on the way. You can also support us by joining our Discord server, where we're having conversations about, well, pretty much all of our show topics and any new decks that you want to submit. We have a big community, growing community for deck, brainstorming, figuring out how to build and construct the best possible deck for your own.
Do we only brainstorm, or do we ponder and preordain as well?
Preordaining would be like a step too far, right? I feel like that's stepping on toes. But I do ponder quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely some brainstorming, though, and some pondering.
Yes, yeah.
Is that fact or fiction, would you say? It's a fact.
That's a fact.
That we're pondering. It's a fact that we're pondering and brainstorming.
But preordaining is a step too far. Let's see.
Well, it's also it's a sorcery as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to, it's not responding to anything. You are actively doing something without anything on the stack.
Yeah, and if you're not winning on the stack, you're probably not winning.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, that is fact, not fiction.
Have we sufficiently derailed the introduction?
No. I think that if people
good.
Yeah. If people still want to support us via Patreon, they can do that as well. You can find us on Patreon, where you can become an official Pepperhead for $3 a month, support the show, and get access to a couple channels on the Discord server, and have your name turn Dr. Pepper red. And there's a little bit of a sneak peek at what our Pepperhead can caps look like. For our next giveaway, someone will get one of these and something else as well. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where I will announce the giveaway and how you can win some sealed product and a can cap. All right. Today, as you can see on the YouTube video, I've got a sort of preloaded topic. It is the banned and restricted announcement that is coming this following Monday after this episode is released. The Monday after, that is when the scheduled announcement is to be made. And today we're going to be speculating about what could possibly be banned in the next coming week. Is there anything that's problematic? At the current point in junction, Ritter, would you say that Dockside's going to get banned? Do you think it's a pretty strong move by the RNC or the R Rules Committee to make that move?
I mean, it's a big portion of the meta. Like, you're making a statement if you ban Dockside. I mean, we've definitely talked about, should Dockside be banned like a million times. Is it going to happen this time? Who knows? Well, it could. It always has a target on its back, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't legitimately believe that Dockside will get touched in this. That likely outcome is that the commander ban list stays the same, but it's one of those things. They've always said they're keeping their eye on it. For me, it's the strongest card in the format by far, and if you ban Dockside, what does the competitive scene even look like moving forward? Like, that's how influential it is, and how it. Well, it's one of those things. I just looked at the price for Dockside again, this week. It's back up near $100 for freaking Dockside. The standard print, nothing No fancy foil etched, foil, borderless foil nonsense. It is nearly $100. And that just absolutely floors me a little bit.
Well, it's a good card with not enough printings. If Magic or Hasbro, Wizards is going to be printing everything in Commander into the ground that's not on the reserve list, well, get to this card sooner than later if it's not going to be banned, right?
Yeah, and
if people need it, it should. If it's an essential card for so many decks, not even competitive decks, just like because of the way it creates value and creates those like fun gameplay loops in EDH, generally at like any competitive level, like just keep printing it. Sorry, like it's not an investment card. No card in the modern era is an investment in Magic.
No, this is like what I could possibly see is now that they've changed the sale structure to Secret Lair, you could actually probably like you're more likely to see a dockside there, considering they are able to like limit the number of cards that they're printing, and for them to raise the price on that drop. But it's like you said, there's no modern card worth the investment. I think sometimes you get lucky and you can tell those stories to people, like that you bought a card for cheap and it got expensive after the fact. But
the nature of the game is they're always going to exist. Like chase cards have to exist in some way for the game as a commodity in the marketplace to exist.
Yeah, in order for them to create demand to sell packs, even. Yeah. And I would say the one thing here with the ban list, there are also rumors spinning that there could be things removed from the ban list. So, like right off the top of my head, there's not a lot of stuff that needs to be banned currently in Commander, but there are things that could be unbanned. Like I would say that. Maybe I'm wrong but like there's Biorhythm is one card that I love, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be banned moving forward. It's one of those cards that they've been speculating for a while that it will come off the list, but I think it's time.
Is that one of those older ban list cards?
Yeah, it's
been on there for a while, not old in terms of its printing.
Right. It's a sorcery that's mono green that sets your life total to the number of creatures you have. So, like, the reason that it was banned in the first place was because you would just board wipe and then have, and then cast Biorhythm, and then you'd win the game. You'd kill everybody at the table.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also that shaman of the Forgotten Ways or whatever that also does the same thing. It's an activated ability on a creature for I think the same mana, and you can actually have it be cost reduction. So it's one I know that it's just a little bit slower with how fast the game has gotten. If you're not able to like it's not like it says this can't be countered or anything like that. If you can't counter, if you're not holding interaction for what I think is, off the top of my head, I think it's 10 mana, so 8 and 2 green to make this happen, or 9 mana, 7 and 2 green, then, like, you deserve to lose to it.
A lot of spaces on the Commander ban list, though, if you have a question about power level, it usually doesn't come down to, like, hey, attractive in casual EDH, but also unfun in casual EDH. So that's like why OG Emrakul is banned, right?
Yes, yeah, that too. I experienced playing against freaking Ulamog with Annihilator 4 just last week, and that devastated me, and it made me have not a good time. But I get it; it's a card, it's legal, it's viable to play. So there's things like Coalition Victory as well, which is just an insane, like, you have to control creatures of all 5 colors and blah this, blah that, and then you cast it and it says you win the game. There are there are way, way, way easier ways to win the game right now, and that is actually the thing that they don't like about it is that it's a sorcery, so it comes out of nowhere, where it's like, oh, I control one of each color, I'll cast this. Does anyone have any answer to it? No, it's like that like you said, that social line being drawn, where like that's why Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation isn't something that people like to see in casual Commander. But that also falls in line with like, why don't you just ban one of those two then to significantly hinder the combo? Regardless.
I mean that's I feel like, but that's the thing. It's not as attractive in casual, right?
Yeah.
Like no one's looking to combo off in that way in casual. Like they're looking to combo off in like, you know, fun ways, like the biorhythm way, like after a board wipe where it's, you know, a janky combo.
Totally. It takes some serious jank to pull off, and with how fast the game has gotten too, like that's why I don't think biorhythm is really that much of a problem. It requires setup, or requires you to be able to like remove a player's board. There's not a lot for you to be able to do to, like, I would say, knock this out on like turn 2 when no one's got creatures. I'm sure there's a way to like cheat it and cast it without paying its mana value. But
I mean, no, well, I think you can look at the notes on why some of these cards, you know, some of the decisions on why they're banned. And, you know, I bet if we looked, it would come down to the gameplay loop of being like, well, then if you're playing this card and this is your win con, you're also playing board wipe tribal. And that in general is unfun in the 4-player game that like we want to involve creatures and combat and all this other stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, because you just play an indestructible commander and then start nuking the board. But yeah, that's so as far as speculation goes for cards that are going to be banned in Commander moving forward, I doubt Dockside gets touched, but that would just like throw the like everything out of whack. Like I
mean, that would be huge, but like is it
Massive.
necessary? Is the meta stale?
No,
in the way. Okay.
Yeah, like, is the meta stale in cEDH? Like, would I like to see more creative decks topping? Yes, of course, at all times. That's me. But at the same time, it's the format's not stale, and people have definitely found ways to interact with the current meta of strategies to sort of like find their own path. So I'm not upset about it. The only one thing that I do think will happen with this ban and restricted announcement is that in Pioneer, I think they're gonna ban Wild Growth Walker. If do you know what the combo is with that?
Nope.
So Amalia is that from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, is the white and black. Whenever you gain life, you explore, and then Wild Growth, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on it, or whenever you hit a non-land card. And then you just leave that on top. But Wild Growth Walker says whenever you explore, you gain 3 life. And so they just ricochet off of each other until Amalia hits exactly 20 power, in which case an ability triggers from Amalia that says when its power is exactly 20, destroy all other creatures. So essentially you can mill a ton of cards. Doesn't matter if you take the non-land card and you throw it in the bin and you keep revealing lands. Because you can end up picking and milling through until you get exactly what you want. But what it does is just sets up a 1-hit kill in Pioneer that's being pulled off on turn 2 or turn 3. That's making like the format is becoming that it's the Wild West already, but they're trying to police it a little bit heavier now. And that's the one card that I speculate will probably get banned because I think it's unintentional in design for how it'll play.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What does the Commander ban and restricted, or sorry, the Commander banned announcement follow the same schedule as the like other formats, the official Wizard formats? Aren't they different like bodies deciding it?
Yeah, they are different bodies. I think they try to like coordinate this so that it all happens at one time. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or if you guys know any different than we do. But yeah, I figured it was like hey, we're working in tandem. You communicate to us what you want to ban, and then when we make our announcement, we'll do it all together. But I could be totally wrong.
Got it. Heard it.
All right. Our next topic of discussion, we're going to kind of make this nice and snappy. We're going to move right through this. We're going to talk about some design flaws that we, well, it's hard to say that they're flaws. They are intentional, but they've also rubbed the community wrong for a particular reason. And that conversation all starts and all begins with Modern Horizons 3 and the Commander decks that were announced alongside its release. So to expand on this, there are a lot of players who are expressing a sentiment that they want sets that are designed for particular formats to not be corrupted by Commander products. And by that, it's just like there are cards that are explicitly designed for Commander because it is the most popular format. It is the format that gets the most people involved, and for business purposes, it's the best decision for Wizards of the Coast to make in order to expand the community. But the players who are committed to like tournament, or constructed formats like Modern are now being like having the pool sort of like tainted with, cards that aren't designed for that format. Does that make sense? I hope I am
sure.
explaining that
I
right.
mean, it would be a bummer as a Modern player to discover that the Modern Horizon set, supposedly made for you, is mostly a product for a different format that doesn't apply to you. I mean, like, I don't necessarily know what the cards are. The full set hasn't been spoiled or anything, but probably a huge bummer, right? Modern player, you would want a modern focus set.
Yeah, and the big thing is like you could release product that like in Pokemon, when a tournament wins or when a deck wins a tournament, what they do is they take that deck and then they reprint it for the masses to say, hey, this was the best deck in a tournament and we want you guys to have it. We don't want these cards to be inaccessible. So here you go. We're actually going to cash in on this player's achievements, and help grow our player base by getting more people involved. So I guess with Modern Horizons 3, wouldn't you like to see a pre-constructed modern deck that helps new players get into the game or get into the format? Like that's how I feel. That's kind of where I stand with the whole thing is like, I know we're getting Commander product, like cards intentionally designed for Commander in standard release sets, where I would rather see the decks that perform best it like in standard being printed with maybe some new cards from the set as a pre-constructed deck so that more players would get into standard. Like there are so many players in Commander right now. Limit the number of Commander products down to a window of time where like every year you release a modern, like with Modern Horizons, like once every 2 years, it feels like. So you have this window of time where, hey, we print a modern specific set and you can rely on finding that every 2 years and we'll bolster the format at that time. And then with all these standard sets, you actually get more people involved. You probably sell way more product. You get multiples of certain cards in these decks. And I think this would be your way to reprint the hell out of like shocks and fetches. And I know that was like something that they did with the Pioneer decks that they did was they included like 1 or 2 shocks in there. And that alone at the time was selling the decks. And then now that you're printing product for Modern, you could include fetch lands and charge probably upwards of like $100 to $150 for one of these decks.
I have a question. In Modern, the minimum baseline competitive deck, what's the price? It's got to be a couple thousands.
It's right. Because a lot of the cards are, well, I would probably say that like Shieldred is probably a card that people want to like are playing now, and that's over 100 apiece.
And I'm talking minimum baseline competitive. I'm not even talking about top tier. Barrier to entry.
Probably
like how does this pre-con work? Like how do you get even like printing stuff into the ground? Like how do you get something that people would want to buy, want to play, want to use in the format?
Yeah, that
Even at
is a
that,
good
even
point.
at the like luxury level, like for a product, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really great point because it's probably like you said, probably close to $1,000. I would say, like, if you wanted to get something that was going to help you compete. Now, if you really wanted to start like winning tournaments, it's like, yeah, then you're like probably stretching to the $2,000 mark. But then you still have to be a really great player. You have to commit a certain amount of time and learn the ins and outs of the strategy, adapt to the meta, know how to sideboard, and like that's also like sideboard included in the cost is kind of what I'm projecting. But like this is a way where like, yeah, it's kind of what I've said about Commander product too. I would love to see a $200 Commander precon that isn't just like, I know that they released the Warhammer Surge foil decks, and those were like $160, but they weren't any different from the baseline variant that was going for $60 or whatever. So it's like, I just want to see them like acknowledge what is good in Commander, maybe, or in Modern, and say, hey, we're gonna print this deck. It's a premium deck. It has all the tools you need to compete. It has all the tools you need. You won't have to spend a dime more. It functions like a well-oiled machine. Guess what? It's $200 for the Commander deck. It is $120 for the Modern deck. Boom. Done. Put me in, coach. I am now working for Wizards of the Coast. I feel like that's just like a great, like, the barrier of entry is too high. We all know this for anything. Like, it's why budget decks don't succeed in cEDH. Like, there was one guy I remember when I went to Marchesa, so it was a few years ago, but like they made an announcement that, hey, guess what the most played card in everybody's deck, the card that everybody has in common in their decks, it's Mana Crypt. Who would have thunk? Everybody is playing it except for one person who is notably a dedicated budget deck. And then we went to see the results, and they got like last place. So it's one of those things where the barrier of entry is high. You can get creative and you can sort of like fudge around with budget builds. They just aren't going to take you to the promised land, and they aren't going to even give you a shot at the promised land if those cards aren't accessible. So this Modern Horizons 3 gaff, you could say, like these Commander decks, I think this is the premium product that I think they're talking about, that like at times they've raised the price of Commander decks to be like, hey, this is a premium product now, come get it, it's strong. And I like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I'm praying for. But it's exciting to see as well. I know they're leaning into Jund really hard, the Graveyard Overdrive, and then the Eldrazi deck is Jund focused, even though it's 5 colors. But I guess I'll just hope for the best, right?
Yeah, who knows? We don't know what's in these products yet, right? We just know that it's new products.
Yeah, there are definitely some, like, I think that like Lelia was one of the cards that was spoiled from Modern Horizons, and that was a Commander designed card, but I think it actually is like, it, by them including it in Modern Horizons 3, it doesn't actually like muddy the water at all. I think that's a card that can and will be played in Modern and will have significant, well, I don't know if it'll have significant impact, but it's definitely fits the mold of what you expect to play in Modern, especially when you're playing cards like Ragavan. So we'll see there. Hopefully it's thought out well enough for that to all work together and jive. But what do you guys think about all of these Commander focused products being released alongside sets that are tailored to other formats? Like, would you rather see standard print decks, like decks that are designed after or copies of the decks that win tournaments? Like, Ritter, I know you'd said before off the record that they used to do this. But like the World Championship decks.
Yeah. Up until the mid 2000s, right? They would publish the tournament decks or world champion decks with different backs. So they weren't themselves tournament legal, but like you could cosplay as as a tournament player, I guess, if you wanted.
That's a good point. Yeah. But they need to ultimately reprint these in tournament legal fashion so that players can get past that barrier of entry. All right. Our next topic takes us to a Reddit post that we have in cEDH a problem. There is a lot of cheating happening in online tournaments. So, Moxstars announced, I think it was last month, that they will no longer be hosting tournaments until they can circumvent the amount of cheating that's taking place in tournaments. There's been enough proof for them to make that decision, to say, we're not doing this anymore. It's too hard to police. It's too hard to control. So there is a new tournament coming up. It is called Twin Flame, and it is debuting this weekend. And they have a new strategy for, combating cheating. So let's read this post here, and let me know what you think, Ritter, because I don't know if I'm on board with it. All right. Here we go.
Listening.
To celebrate the launch of what we trust will become the premier webcam series going forward, we are adding a new anti-cheating measure to our rules. Starting this weekend, when cutting your opponent's deck, you will not only choose a pile for them to put on top of their library, but also a number of cards under 21 to put to the bottom. We hope this brings an end to the most problematic cheat in our game, deck stacking without significantly slowing down rounds. I think this is going to take a long time to actually act on. Like, what do you think? Because you're going to basically, if you haven't played online, Comp REL with webcam tournaments is you split your deck into 3 piles on camera. Mm-hmm. And then one of your opponents, usually the person across from you at the table, selects 1, 2, or 3. And that is the pile that you put on top, like when you put it back in order. So they're basically saying like that obviously was not good enough. People are still able to cheat. So when you do it, and then the person will say, put 20 cards from the top of your library on the bottom. So then the person has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 and then put those to the bottom. So in a game where in this tournament, they are 6 90-minute Swiss rounds cut. No extra turns. Boom. Like, I just don't see how players are going to find enough time to make that work.
They're going to have to. I mean, either they're going to try the rule, right? This is the first tournament to try it, right?
Yeah.
This is their own rule. They're going to find out if it works or if it doesn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only way to really know is to get the feedback from players to see if it's an experience that they enjoyed or not. So, but man, like, I think we were all ready, even in person, where it's just like, hey, you want to cut my deck? And we're like, pow, pow, pow. Like, it sometimes you find that it's hard to have enough time, even in 90-minute rounds, to really, like, hash everything out. To say that this is not a tie, sometimes 90 minutes, no extra turns, is, like, still kind of rough. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I will definitely be paying attention to this because I want to report further on it. But it throws into there's this mindset. I don't know where people get it, like, to cheat in these, like, certain things, but, like,
I mean, everyone's there to win, and some people don't have the moral character to win the right way.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all it is, you know?
Right, because there is a prize, right? And for this tournament, the first prize is $1,024. I don't know where they got that number. Maybe it's just a percentage, but $1,024 goes to first place. So $1,000 payout. Second, so the final table, if you make it there, the minimum you get is $448. That is second through fourth, and then fifth through eighth is $128 with a $50 entry fee. So it's pretty great. I think that's a good payout. And there's just, I think when you practice these events, and we've talked with Justin or Tordeth about how they practice regularly for events. And I think that when you prepare yourself for things like this, we always joke that when we're cutting our decks, that if you have to cheat in a game that has no stakes whatsoever, cut your own deck. It's fine. We don't have that mentality. We're not trying to deceive each other. We're trying to practice so we know how our decks work and so we know how we're going to approach different situations. If you are looking to prepare for these tournaments and you are doing so online via webcam, go in with that mentality. Say, you know what? There's nothing at stake here. There's no reason for me to cheat. And to me, that's how I would approach even in tournaments. The honorable way is no cheating. But like you said, the moral fiber, the moral code I don't know where it's taught or how it's forgotten or how people think they can get away with it. It's been caught multiple times in the past few months. And yes, I get that there's $1,000 on the line here, but getting caught once makes it so you're banned forever from these tournaments. So, I don't really know what the payoff or honestly, if I won a big tournament, it would go great for benefiting the show. People would probably want to listen to us more because they'd be like, who's this guy who are these guys who talk about cEDH all the time and win tournaments and blah this, blah that. So I guess there's payoff there, but what if I ended up getting caught? The show would die. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, Evan, you have played out the moral calculus of criminals and cheaters.
They suck, man. They suck, and this is why I don't like playing competitively. It's I did catch a cheater one time playing pre-release for the original Dominaria. So this is 2017, 2018. I remember going to the table. I'm sitting next to a guy, not across from somebody, sitting next to this guy, and I'm playing my games, and I get wiped in 2 games. So I'm just kind of zone out and start watching the game that he's playing. And I look in his hand, and he's got 2 Mox Ambers and 2 Lyra Dawnbringers and unreal stuff. And he already had a Lyra Dawnbringer on the battlefield. So I'm what is going on here? This is wild. And apparently this guy had already been to 3 pre-releases. And then when he had found somebody at a table that had pulled one of the cards that he wanted, he would buy it from them after the tournament. So I got all this information from the people who were apparently his friends, at this thing. So I walked over to the judge and I said, come over here. Look at this dude's hand. Look at the battlefield. And his whole thing is he got caught. He got kicked out. They took his picture and they banned him. And he will never be able to compete in a pre-release ever again at Mox Boarding House because of it. Because he wanted to cheat in that one pre-release where the prize was packs of cards. The ways.
Yeah, man.
The weight, that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I'll stop jabbering.
There are incentives to cheat.
It's so stupid.
Unforge.
So stupid, man. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you have if you've cheated and you've gone ahead and raked in the reward, and you're not being torn from the inside out morally, I don't have words.
Evan, a pepperhead would never do that.
No,
it's in the pepperhead's oath.
I feel
to never cheat in competitive games.
Never. If you're true pepperhead and you enjoy the crisp 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper, it literally says on the back of the can, cheaters don't drink Dr. Pepper.
You know, Dr. Pepper doesn't have 14 flavors in there, and he just says 23. All 23 are accounted for.
Yeah. Liars and cheats. Nope. Not welcome in the Pepperhead community. So, that being said, if you have any strategies for circumventing cheating via webcam strategy or are going to be playing in Twin Flame, it's happening this weekend. Let us know and let us know if you've had any experience with cheaters or if you've caught them in the act or like anything relating to this.
What are the solutions to cheating in webcam Magic tournaments? Like, obviously, on the Discord spell table level, it's just like play with people in your play group. At a tournament, you can't control for that, and the prize pool attracts cheaters, so it's gonna keep happening. There's better ways to prevent it in in-person Magic than there are on spell table Magic, right?
Totally.
So you're going to have to deal with the problem somehow. So if this solution isn't the solution, what is?
Right. And it's just we're still figuring it out day after day, step after step. This is the first big step I feel like someone's actively taking towards policing the issue. So hopefully it does work out. Hopefully this is something that goes forward because webcam tournaments are becoming the most popular, if they're not already, the most popular way to play cEDH. And like it's a way to like regularly plan and schedule tournaments. The organizers make what they need to make. The players are incentivized to play due to the prize pool. And like this should be a peaceful, like very like smooth organization and players should be able to cooperate. But I hate that we're having the conversation, that it's even happening, but I digress. It is a conversation worth having. All right. Ritter, let's get the heck out of here. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode, but we want to keep things snappy. We want to make sure that we're covering as much as possible and, being cool.
You know what I forgot to ask? Evan, did you play any games of Magic this week?
Ooh, I actually did. So,
okay.
I played with that Indoraptor deck, and man, that thing was it's so much fun to play. And all the people out there questioning whether or not it can actually be cEDH viable, well, they were wrong, because it rocks. It absolutely rocked. I had an instance where I had landed the Indoraptor as a 10-8, and then I played a Mayhem Devil and copied my dockside with a Curse Mirror. So I had a ton of treasures, and I was just throwing damage at the Indoraptor, and I basically killed 2 players off the table. But here's the thing. Atlas was at the table, so there's no way I was winning that game anyway.
Got it. So it's a good deck unless you're playing Atlas.
Yes, and then he knows how to handle every situation. It's with all of his crazy kooky cards, which he has a new one. And if you're listening, Atlas, I'm going to spoil it right now. It's called C Double. It's a instant 4 mana, 2/2 blue from, I think it's from Strixhaven. But you can choose one or both, and you create a token copy of any creature on the battlefield, or you copy any spell on the stack. Pretty neat.
Spicy tech, 4 CMC. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah, he used it to great effect. There was a Mnemonic Betrayal on the stack, and Atlas cast. Oh, that was loud. Sorry, the Adobe Creative Cloud interrupted the podcast for a very important announcement. But the thing
Shut up, Clippy. Get out of here.
Hey, don't you talk to Clippy like that. But the Mnemonic Betrayal on the stack, basically Atlas cast C Double, copied the Mnemonic Betrayal, and then copied a dockside, and by exiling everybody's graveyards, before the first Mnemonic Betrayal resolved, that second Mnemonic Betrayal got nothing, and then he had all the gas he needed to go ahead and win the game. So, kind of cool. Oh, Ritter, did you play any Magic?
No.
No? Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I was reciprocating the question.
I'm currently playing a game called Lost Judgment. It's okay.
Is it?
A lot of people say it's one of the spin-offs from the Like a Dragon series.
I knew it.
And a lot of people say it's one of the best, if not the best, out of all the games. And I disagree. It has a lot of like the combat is great, story's great. The mini games are not so great.
Mm.
Some of the other types of like the chase sequences, the mandatory like detective stuff, which is central to the game, is for me not so fun and disrupts the gameplay loop.
That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that it isn't
I mean,
living
it
up to
doesn't
the
suck.
hype.
It's overall a good game. I just
Yeah.
don't think that it's amazing. I, in fact, don't love it a whole bunch. I rank it probably like I've played everything except for 4 games out of what this studio has made. It out of like 15 games or something. I'd rank it probably in the bottom 5 for me, just because like the mandatory stuff that isn't fun disrupts it so much. But at the
For
same
sure.
time, out of all these games, I love all the games. It's my favorite game studio, favorite game series of all time. And even the mandatory unfun parts, more fun to me than the game I tried to play before picking this up, which was Final Fantasy Remake, which a lot of people love,
Yeah.
and just wasn't clicking for me. And this game that isn't the best in the series is still pretty good. And that is a long walk for a metaphor for Magic the Gathering right now, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of the mandatory keywords outside the game elements and stuff like that does drown the experience out a little.
But at the end of the day, you still get to do the thing you love, right?
Yeah, I get to turn cardboard sideways, and that's my passion.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I'm glad to hear that that game is, well, not the worst in the world, but that you're still enjoying yourself while playing it.
Not amazing. People also say that there's a DLC for it, the Kato Files, which I'm very close to. I'm on the final chapter of this game. People say that the DLC is excellent. So,
this is truly your passion.
I'm looking forward to that. So, who knows? Life is a mix of things. Magic the Gathering is a mix of things. So,
and here we are, the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and the other best mix of things in life, Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, truly a mix of things, and it's all good, though. Like, unlike life and unlike Magic, the mix in Dr. Pepper, impeccable. Can't say anything bad about it.
It's perfecto. Why'd I do that? All right.
S tier, as we say in video games.
Yes. S tier. All right, Ritter, let's get the heck out of here. I've had a great time chatting about Magic today, and I'm ready to enjoy some sunshine.
Hell yeah.
All right, dude. I think we really kicked some ass. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by finding us on YouTube. You can do so by finding us on all major podcasting platforms. You can join our Discord server, and you can also support us on Patreon and become a supporter, become an official Pepperhead. And also stay tuned for next week's episode where we'll be announcing a free giveaway and how you can win. So this has been the Moxstars Podcast. Get out there and enjoy some sunshine and have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Deuces.